Hello, if you're watching. Uh, this is just a impromptu stream because I got a little bored of writing code and I was about to do something for a bit of fun, and I thought it would be even more fun on a stream. But I don't know that Twitch is working yet because I still see a loading bar on the chat. I don't know what that means. Interesting. I still can't see. Let me try something here. I might be missing chat messages because it wasn't coming up. Okay, try now. See if you can talk to me if I'm live. It says I'm live everywhere. Alright, now I'm seeing a message. Hello, Kilimian. Or Jerome. I think that's how it's pronounced. Yeah. I used it, I used 4coder a couple times in the past. I did use it to write a little bit of the color picker thing, and I found a bug doing that. So anyway, I just got started with this test. So right now what I need to do is get it started. I want to have the main function be called pregen. Actually, before I do this, what I should do is pop up here and write a bit of usage code. So say I'm in my main step function, right, and somewhere along the way, what I'm imagining happens is I have something like you specify how many you want in your tree, and I'm thinking if you have a tree with 3 branches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 is sort of a minimum if I don't generate root shapes. So I'll set 9 as a minimum, but if that's true, I'll say this guy is going to ask for 16 vertices, and then that'll be, maybe that's not a great way, but I'm thinking like you can scale the number of vertices to get higher and lower levels of detail. And then the other nice thing about that is you'll have like somewhere you'll get memory. Size of, that should be orange. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so basically what I'm actually writing doesn't matter too much, and I'm probably not very good at this, by the way. I have done very little 2D geometry. I've done a bit, but not much, and even less generative code. So this is also me learning about these two things. Because I figure I have to pick some real code and I have to actually get my brain going so I can see how the editor works in that process. A toy test wouldn't help, so. And then I'm imagining I do something like this. I just say, hey, generate me a tree, and I tell it, here's, I probably want this in the other order. Yeah, okay, I probably have to change that right away, because I want that to go to, when I do control right and left, it's going to white space right now, and I want it to go to the end of a token. So I'm going to say that I need to save this, shut this down. This is the interesting part. Now I'm going to open Emacs and make a quick edit to 4coder. Will you do your own? Clemion asks if I will do my own take on L systems. I don't know what that means. I'm trying to search my memory to see if I know anything about this, but I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, that puts the tokens on. So I'm going to rebuild. And then I've got Visual Studio up on my other window. I'm running this in the debugger, so if I have any problems with 4coder, I catch them. And then there we go. Alright, better. So that's one thing that's fun, is when you've got the entire code base for your editor that you can make changes like that on the fly, but normally you hope you're... Oh, okay, so Cami CSE I see, we're talking about tree generation. I was thinking, yeah. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I didn't do any research for this beforehand. I was just going to make it up as I go. I have an idea in mind for how I'm going to do it. Like I said, this is me. The things I'm programming, I have no idea what I'm doing. None at all. So this is the first time I've tried to do something like this. But I will have to leave myself a note. Systems. Oops. See, that's the downside with my token jumper, is I want it to know that if the token contains white space, it should go to the white space in between, but for now it's just jumping to the end of a whole token without checking, so I need a sort of hybrid between jump to white space and jump to token. But I haven't implemented that yet. Okay. Alright, let's see. And then, yeah, okay, for now I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not sure what else I might want to specify, like, yeah, I have a couple of ideas on how you would maybe want to set up the initial branching, but I'm going to just leave it at question mark there for now. And then the other thing it would do is it would go like draw polygon, vertices, vertex count. Okay. And then in the meantime, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of other stuff set up so that we can actually see what it looks like and test stuff. So vertex count. To get it started, I'm just going to make a quick box. sure I can render it. There's something a little bit off with the paste. I noticed this before and I didn't take a note, but whoops. If I copy that and I paste it, it like flashes, but only for a moment. Okay, so I'll move the X over, and I'll move both of you over. Let's make it not a box actually, so I can see irregular shape. Nice, okay. Let me open this. So this is a little bubble project that I made recently when I was working on the color picker. This is where I set up, where I made sure all my HSL to RGB conversions were working, and that I had a good way, because you know, if you have like a rounding error or something and you're lazy, the bug I was getting a lot is you try to put a slider somewhere and then it would slide around because the color was degrading as it changed, and both of my conversion algorithms had bugs, so it was just making the color go crazy. So I just set it up in this bubble project to test it, which means I have a nice little OpenGL starting point. Polygon. Vertex count, and let's see. I think I want to specify a color. GL begin, GL polygon. Is that a thing that exists? Can I do that? Nice. Way to go, OpenGL. I was afraid I was going to have to do a whole tangent on triangle, like breaking it up into triangles, you know. Looks good to me. I'm going to pop down here and let's see. Basically, I don't need any of this anymore. I'll leave that. I don't care. Yeah. Get out of here. Okay. Haven't had any crashy stuff from the editor, which is nice. I haven't used it for this long since I redid the panel system. I guess I haven't really been taxing the panels very much, except for that time I mentioned about the color picker where it did crash. But anyway, I need to do Actually, what I want to do, I'm going to move this into the app vars struct up here in the real world vertex count, so I can just generate one and look at it for now. Okay, so that gives me have the auto tab off right now because it's a little bit janky. That's actually something that's pretty important that I gotta get done. Back to star. Let me put that on my to-do list real quick. What was that other thing I mentioned? It was the token, yeah, left, right. I'm taking notes on the things I want to change in the editor. Left, right, in case I'm confusing anybody. Left, right, token, white space. There we go. Okay. I don't have that whole memory management thing set up yet. That's fine. Oh, yeah, size of. Why are you not coloring, size of? That should be coloring. But that has to do with the Lexer, which I'm going to be getting into more in the future when I'm done with UI. My little break for UI, that's a parsing concern, which I'm taking a break from. But anyway, let me get these distractions out of the way. I'm thinking I want to change how I do this. Actually, I'm just going to go straight to the more advanced thing, even though it's not really what I want to do right now. Memory part. Normally I end up regretting using void stars these days because I always end up wanting to do pointer arithmetic, and I'm going to want to now. And then there's max, and there's position. I'll collapse that into one last line because I like that. Okay. Yeah. Chronal Dragon asks, will the Lexer allow you to color arbitrary types in the editor? What do you mean? Like, it will allow you to color, different type? You mean as in, you want to color your struct name differently than your built-ins? Or do you mean like void and int have different names? And the answer to that is probably not for a while. Someday I'm going to put in just a general Lexer and beef up so that the editor can at least Lex any language, because that's not usually very hard. And then it can at least be a text editor in any language. But that won't be for quite a while because it's, if that's what you mean. If it's just a matter of coloring certain things, it's already got some, I see, yeah. So the reason for Chronal Dragon says, so I've got void, char, car, whatever, colored, and if I were to type, other built-in types like these, you'd see they get colored. And he's asking about the non-built-in types, I32, bool32, vec2, etc. Why can they be colored, and can I, commit either on various levels? And the answer of various levels of detail. I have to finish one thought before I skip to the next. So right now they're just not recognized as a thing because that involves semantically understanding it. There will be a semantic level of understanding the code, so it will be able to say, hey, if this is a non-built-in type, that gets a color. If this is a local variable, that gets a color, stuff like that, or a function that gets a different color. Keaton Plays PC asks what I'm working on, and the answer has got 2 layers. What you see me coding is a thing that generates a polygon to look like a tree. Let me update this also. But the reason I'm doing it is because I'm testing a code editor, and I'm looking to see how it looks from now. I was just popping up. My most recent work has been on this new view, so up until now the only thing I've really demoed is this working. So this is like a sneak peek at this thing here, and this is all the breakout in colors I have so far. So I don't have any breakout for things like I32 right now, but later on this will get extended to have the semantic parts. This is basically everything that you see here is for either this bar up here on the top or for the text in here or the background in general and stuff like that. Okay, so I was working on this memory situation. I want to smarten up this. I wish if you return void pointers from functions, they cast it automatically. That would make these things just a little easier to use. Get part as in short for partition, but I don't spell that out because too long. I'm trying to get shorter. I have a tendency to go very long with names, so I'm trying to not do it all the time. But anyway, I'm worried that once in a rare while I'm typing too fast for it to catch some of my keystrokes for some reason. And that doesn't usually happen. I mean, I haven't noticed it for a long time, but it just happened now, I think. Either that or I didn't type S. That's the thing I'm never sure if I actually did it, because sometimes I would miss that key too. Okay, so that means I have enough space. I don't need this. Position part base plus equals not base part position. Okay. That's all I need. Alright, well, I could do yeah, I think it just missed an F. That's kind of concerning if it's just happened twice. Anyway, that time it was me. Well, let's do it this way. Okay. Mempart array part t size t star and part get part size of t times size. Yeah. Yep, maybe, yeah, that makes me happy. Vars part size type vec2 size vertex count. Perfect. Okay. And then I want to put those into the vars. I'm used to the way Emacs handles white space, like in terms of when I hit a new line. First of all, I don't have auto tabbing, but other than that, I'm used to if you have a white space line and you hit enter, the old line is empty in Emacs, and it doesn't happen here. And I just have this habit now of going back and re-putting in the white space the way I want it. And I don't know why I have the habit, and I certainly don't know why it messes me up once in a while here. It seems unimportant, but it's like a part of a rhythm that I developed on Emacs. Okay. Then I want to do tree-gen. That was the name of the function, right? Let me pop it open on the other one. Tree-gen. Yes. Okay. So vertices vertex count. Okay, so it generates the tree at the beginning. And then I want a sort of brownish color down here, so that's something like not sure. A little bit of red, a little more yellow, no blue, full alpha, maybe. And then we'll see when I do the box. And then I want to do my GL polygon vertices, and I'll do the 4, not the full thing, because I want to see just the box. And my color. Okay, now let's see if I can. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so I can't alt tab right now because I set I had to set the low-level keyboard hook because I couldn't figure out how to make the alt key stop dinging. Like when I did alt commands, they always made the windows, ding like an error happened. It was driving me crazy. And the only way I could figure out to stop that was to use the low-level hook, but apparently that's overriding alt tab, which I did not plan on. So I'll have to check for when you get alt tabs and pass those along, I guess. Alt tab, either that or find a better way to avoid the ding sound. If anyone knows how to properly do that without going to low-level keyboard, let me know, because I spent quite a while experimenting with doing it just through the Windows callback. And I know the ding doesn't happen until after the callback, so in theory there's something you can do to prevent it, but I can't figure it out. I can't figure out how to prevent the ding, so I went with low level, and now I can't alt tab, which is annoying. Alright, but what I want to do is see if I can, and the rule is I have to make it work. Ooh. Oh, okay, I need to switch over to the other project. Debug. Okay. Since I'm not using Emacs, I don't get to check errors and stuff in Emacs like I normally would. That's one of the rules of this little game. So, line 85, I need to skip to line. Okay. anyways, line 85, 96, 74, 85. What's going on here? You don't like something. Oh, you don't like the fact that position isn't really a variable. Okay. Can't use Alt-Tab. 130. Vars. No, that's what I want to do there is go into the part and just add that to the position. But actually, what I want to do is I want to say that that equals the position. So I haven't even initialized the part yet. Now that I think about it, so base equals memory.mem. Size equals memory.size. Alright. So let's see. Still can't Alt-Tab. I might get interrupted here for a minute. Because I hear my dog walking around outside. He might feel like interrupting me. Cannot convert from void star to character star. Line 130. Fair enough. Can't Alt-Tab right now. Okay, what do we got? Size is not a member of the memory part. Max. Still can't Alt-Tab. Oh, there's so much muscle memory for Alt-Tab. It's crazy. Okay. Conversion from U64 to I32 on line 131. Is my size a U64? Why would I have done that? Alright, let's see. U6. Oh, find me a U64. Next. No. Okay, it's not in this file. Let's try app base. Alright. Alright, I gotta go for 1 minute. I'll be right back. Shh. Hello, I'm back. Alright. Alright. that's weird. What's oh, I'm in the middle of a search. I'm looking for. So hold on, that's some kind of bug. So I'm doing a search, and then I clicked. Yeah. So you can see you can see at the top of the screen I'm trying to do a search. That's because the search used to be, or still is, integrated as part of the state of the whole program, and that's going to change. Now that there's this concept of separate views, I'm going to get rid of this top command bar. That's going to be gone someday. Alright. But anyway, I'm looking for U64. I'm not happy that this is I64. At some point I thought that was clever, but it's not. Okay. Okay, let's see. Can't Alt-Tab. Let's see if I can build that. And base. Save. Identifier not found. Right. So then I need to go app. No, just colors. So let's see. There's. All right. I need to include my. By the way, check out that red. I don't know if I've ever demoed this, but that is the junk token. It's saying the Lexer has seen an error, and so it's coloring it as errorful. That's not necessarily the best. Let's take a quick moment to figure out what color that should be. Whoa, color picker is not coming up now. Yeah, so Chrono Dragon is saying that the editor shouldn't require manual saves, and I agree. What's going to happen is, first of all, it's going to try to just perpetually save to the file by default. Yeah, and then there's a sort of an optional thing you can enable, which is that you can have a sort of like local, almost like a local versioning system, and that's what your manual saves actually do. That's kind of what I'm imagining. But for some reason, I can't open my color picker now. I was going to try to pick the color for this junk token to be a little better, but it's gone. So let me finish typing this in real quick. treegen.cdp. Let me check real quick that. Yeah, okay. I'm just checking to make sure there's not any memory leaks or over CPU usage, and it looks good. Yeah, so OperaCoinbase is saying you wouldn't want a mix of hard saves and auto saves, and I think what I would do is you wouldn't have a save at all. You'd have a backup. So a thing that says I want to save this to the backup stream, or I want this to, and then on usual circumstances it would okay, that is not correct. Okay, let me launch this again. Yeah, okay. Something happened there, so I need to see if I can recreate that bug someday. treegen.cpp, save that. Still can't auto tab. Build debug. Function does not take 2 arguments. That is only true for now. Because I didn't save this. Great. Vertices, vertex count. Yeah, so saving things is actually a pretty big issue. I'm starting to see that now that I'm using my editor as part of the cycle for edit and build. I still don't know how to pronounce this. I don't know if it's called Chem, Engineering, and CSE or whatever. I know what it stands for. It's just I don't know what to say. Chemic-C. At what level are you detecting junk? At the token level or the language semantic level? Right now it's just at the token level because there's no semantic analysis advanced enough for that yet. So right now it wouldn't for example know that that this is junk, right? It doesn't know that that's no good. It just doesn't even care. All it knows is if it sees a token, if the Lexer sees something that it thinks should be impossible, that is labeled as junk, and nothing else is solid enough to really be integrated to that level yet. And even the Lexer is going to be improved. Huh. Makes the text flash when it autosaves, huh? That's weird. Yeah, I think you wouldn't want that. Okay. Let me do one quick test to make sure. Okay, so the color picker is coming up now. Let's do something to make me happy. There's a bit of junk. There's a bit more junk. Alright, so I want that to look a little brighter, I think. Then I can pop over to the RGB side. That's new. That hasn't been shown before, so there you guys go. You got to see the first demo of the RGB color picker. I'm going to just write this down for later. Junk 3A0000. Okay. Asipshin asks, how long have you been programming this editor? The day I first wrote any code that has evolved into this project was December 12th, 2014, I want to say. Somewhere in there, give or take a week. So, upwards of 7 months, I think. And that wasn't ever like a full-time... Well, the majority of the work has actually gotten done in the last 3 months because I was in school January through April, and I barely did anything for 4 of those months. But the last 3 months have involved a lot of what you see here, as well as a parser that comes along more slowly than this because I find it harder. Okay, so yeah, I lost all of the work I did here to the not saving thing. So definitely want to get the saving thing working correctly. I'm making a slightly irregular shape here. Saving it. Not using Alt-Tab because it doesn't work. Okay. Undeclared identifier, huh? Let's take a look at that. Not search. Colors. Yeah, where's math? It's not even... How is that even possible? Oh, you know what I bet is happening? Why? I bet I know. Open. Color. Yeah, there it is. Lazy me. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Assumption again asks, is it all from scratch or did you use any libraries? And let me think. I mean, it's mostly from scratch. It's coded right to the Win32 API for the most part, with the exception of I used SDL TTF for fonts for a while. I'm not using STB TrueType. Neither of them are going to be permanent. SDL can't stay because it brings along too much. I mean, the size of the executable, like the size of the binary that I have to distribute to people right now is about 100 kilobytes, if I remember correctly. And it was more like 1,500 kilobytes just to include SDL, which is crazy. So yeah, I super don't want to just have all that extra stuff there. However, I might end up using SDL just to make a portable platform target anyway. So I'm not sure. Yeah, the other thing is the SDL TTF thing is pretty inefficient, so I probably only use SDL separately and not actually use the TrueType part of it. The hard part is, if you look at my text right now really closely, it's not as good as Emacs text, right? If I put them side by side, it's subtle. I don't even know if you can see it on Twitch, but Emacs text is just a little prettier. This is a little fuzzy. The hinting's not quite right on mine, and there's not. This is actually doing clear type aliasing, which is an interesting topic that I learned about when I asked people about it, and I didn't. Yeah, I didn't really stand a chance with TrueType because it doesn't have. It doesn't have. I don't think SDL can do the cool aliasing. So I can never quite match them unless I find something way more powerful, or if I write my own, which I don't. I don't know if that'll happen. Okay, anyway, let's see if this is building. I've been at it since 3 p.m. I don't want to go on forever. Wait, since 4 p.m. I've been at it since 4 p.m. I figured I'd maybe go for a couple hours if people are interested. Alright, I'm still getting... this damn... excuse my language save thing is gonna kill me. Save. Not you, you. Okay, well, that's different. This would be so... It's crazy how much easier this would be on Emacs right now. I have to admit. Okay, line 17. Still? Still? Oh my goodness. Save. Kill that file. Do I have other copy of colors open? Yeah, so that's another thing I really need to do is if you try to open the same file twice, it often opens two separate copies. It might always do it, actually. I thought that was fixed, but apparently not. I'm taking notes in too many different places, but it's like I'm running out of space over here, so I'm going to probably try to do it in a notebook from now on. Let's see. FewCon. Will 4coder have code completion ALA for Visual Studio's IntelliSense? And I'm not sure if it'll be at that level. I mean, okay, yeah, it would, because that's something you basically get for free for all the more advanced things I want the editor to do. That's something you basically get for free out of the system. But it wouldn't be anything like their IntelliSense anyway, because it would yes, it would be faster, but it would also be usable. So, and it wouldn't lie to you half the time, which in my experience, IntelliSense did at any reasonably sized code base. Canuckles says, I bet you could redirect compilator's vomit into a 4coder panel, I'm assuming is what he means. Yeah, I hope I can. Every time I think about it, I wonder what exactly is going on when that happens. Plus, I have to be able to launch the batch script from here, but I have to hold off on that just for a bit because I want to do something smarter than what Emacs does than just running a batch. It will run it'll run a batch at the base level, but I want to think about that a little bit more. Okay, let's see if this is building now. Hey, we can run it. Okay, now I can finally see if my color looks any good. Ooh, way too much green. What was I thinking? It's more red than yellow is half red, half green. And make it lean a little more red, you get a brownish thing. So that's what I want to make it lean a little more red. Okay. So let's get that up. Where is that? App color. Color. Replace. It's something I use all the time in Emacs now. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Well, save that first of all. Oh, don't run it again. Build, debug, run. Okay. Macy J. Backle. Sorry, I have no idea. I have a hard enough time with real words. Screen names drive me crazy. I can't do it. But the aforementioned, or the previously mentioned person asks, is 4coder based on shortcuts or dual mode like Vim? And the answer is I don't totally know what that. I mean, I know what you mean that Vim is based on that. It's not. It's going to have that for people who want it at some point. Text editing isn't really the most important thing to me, so it's a little bit more basic in terms of text. In my mind, I imagine Vim is sort of the art of editing text in a highly perfected and polished form, and I don't really want to spend too much time on text, so I'm not there yet. But I mean, Emacs has at least one Vim emulator that I've heard of called Evil Mode. So, and this is going to be able to do that too. It's almost possible. It would be possible now for me to just make a Vim emulator on the system, so I'm not too worried about it. I mean, Vim commands, I don't know them, so maybe they're more complicated than I'm thinking, but they're mostly just a bunch of options and a couple of modes, right? And that's not too hard for me to add a view that behaves that way to my system. So, someday. And if I don't provide it, there'll be maybe a plugin interface that will provide it. Who knows? Okay, so now let's start doing this problem. So what I imagine I want to do is I want to start with so eventually I want to make a full polygon that looks like a tree. But what I'm going to start with is I can quite easily this wasn't very helpful. I can quite easily start with something that isn't got width to it, it's just lines, and then I could go back in and add width, I think. Null02 asks, what made you decide to spell dimension this way? D-I-M-E-N-T-I-O-N. Emphasis on the T and not the S. I actually discussed this in a video before, but I don't mind retelling the story. When I originally made my screen name, 4th Dimension, I spelled it with an S. But I was very young, and several days or weeks or maybe a month later or so, I decided to log into this site again, and I forgot my password sort of situation, and I was not yet old enough to realize that you can basically hack into anything so long as you hit the I forget my password and get an email and change your password. But on top of that, I wasn't really sure which way was the correct way, so since I was dealing with that, I just made a new account and spelled it with a T. And I kind of went with it for a while, and then when I realized that I had spelled it wrong, because I completely forgot about it for a little while, that it was possibly wrong, when I realized that it was wrong, I decided to keep it, because I notoriously spell things wrong all the time anyway. So, it's a little inside joke to myself. Okay. Actually, that could just be a vec2, right? Okay, so my idea is that I would start by setting the base like so. And then, let's see, I have a certain number of them. I think I want to specify how many. I'm just going to start right now with what I have going on in my head. So, you need 1, and then you split into 3, and then you need okay, so what I think I want to do is say for the next for the next vertex, what I'll do for now will be very basic. I'll step forward just this much. what I want is okay, and then after that, I'll go interesting thing is I'm making this harder on myself by trying to do it in place. I think it'd be easier if I just said that I got more memory. Like if I got twice as much memory as what I needed, it would make my life easier. Well, I'll just see where this goes. Okay, so step forward 1, and I'm going to branch out 3 times. And that should be enough to satisfy me to begin with. Null02 asks, do you attend college? I do. I attend, but not right now because it's summer, and I try to. And if you're asking if I attend class, the answer is no. I just, especially not classes I don't like. I don't really play college the way you're supposed to. With you know, struggling and studying and whatnot. Alright, so now what I want to do, and I want to do something like step size times equals 0.5f. So I'm decreasing the step size, so the new branches are going to step out shorter, and I'm going to make 3 of them. One goes up, one to the left, and one to the right. So that's 3 different angles. And so the starting angle, what's in my head there? The starting angle is sort of, if that's 0, 45, wait, it's backwards, right? 45, 90, 180 is right there. And up one more, because the screen is upside down, up one more would be plus 45 to that. 225. So I'll do that in degrees real quick. And each step d equals 45 degrees. That says 25. Alright, and then what I want to do is I want to make a vertex that is the previous vertex plus okay, that's interesting. So I need to pop over to my math file, not an Emacs. So different key commands here. Yeah, Abner, I wrote a for loop in some reels. So, you know, every time someone takes a shower, someone else gets a for loop and some reels written, and that's why the people in the shower are always a little behind, except not really, because the people who just came out of the shower, you know, they write a nested for loop, and they use fixed point, so what can you do? Yeah, so I need to expand my maths a little bit. Okay, so what I want is a thing where it's kind of like a sine, or it's not really sine and cosine. What it is you put in an angle and a length, and it outputs a vector whose components, are the x, y of basically the translate polar to Cartesian is what I'm talking about. That's basically what's going on here. I don't have time for you. I'll do that later when I'm in Emacs. Alright, so polar to Cartesian. Theta degrees. Put it in the name, people. Because I always have to look at the API doc, and that sucks. And, links. And then, let's see, yeah, so it's just a matter of vec2 result, return result x equals cosine of theta degrees. Am I spelling degrees correctly? Is that supposed to be with an A? That looks terrible now that I'm looking at it. It doesn't necessarily look spelled correctly to me. Just one too many. I want the sign. Okay, y. Sure. I'm pretty sure those are in degrees. Actually, while I'm at it, I just said put it in the name, so I'm going to just pop up here, put it in these two degrees. Is that how you spell degrees? That doesn't look right. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay, thanks. I've been waiting for Abner to finish his spell checker for a very long time because I was going to take, if he open sourced it, I was going to take it. And, yeah, there's no bot because, the bot only goes to channels where the crowd is out of hand. I keep a pretty lean and mean crowd on my channel, so no need for a bot. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to look at yeah, right here, polar to Cartesian, theta degrees length, theta degrees, okay. What's the limit on cosine? Okay, so Kalimion asks about coloring for type defs and for such things as the internal define. Also, by Canuckles. See you around. So the type defs would just, that would just happen automatically. In fact, that would come along the same way the structs would, because that's just a matter of having the definitions. When you color something, it's because you looked at it and you said, is this a defined symbol? And if you've typed def something, it's on the table of defined symbols. So yes, it would get colored. Now what you could do is say you want to color this separately, and that's a matter of how did this get defined, and you keep like a little flag that says, hey, this definition came from a struct, this definition came from a type def, etc. And then his second question is, for the internal, Oh, I thought you were asking about coloring the internal. I was thinking there would almost definitely need to be a thing where you could set specific words, sort of like Casey's to do, but it would be more like, it would look like this, so you could just have a sort of visual interface where you type in a word and set its color. It's an idea, something like that. And as far as hovering over defines, if you want, you could also say have all defines have a certain color, and you can hover over them and it'll expand them. Absolutely. DPC47 asks, what sort of optimizations happen for rendering to the screen? What's the performance overhead compared to Emacs? Okay, so right now it's running through OpenGL, which is overkill, so it does fine with rendering usually. When I run the software renderer, it is behind, but it's not. It's only optimized. It's only optimized C. I haven't done intrinsics of any kind. It's not SIMD or even optimized ASM or anything like that. Right? It's not. There's nothing about it that's very particularly smart. The only thing is that I did a little work to make the C code produce decent code. But what happens is I don't re-render the screen all the time. It's just, when it's doing something like scrolling like that, right? It's doing an animation, so there's like a frame by frame redraw, and so it gets a little bit. The software renderer gets a little bit more CPU intensive than Emacs there, but I crush Emacs on memory usage right now. Last I checked, anyway. Yeah, so I have Emacs and 4coder both open, although they're opening different things, and we're about matched. So let me see. This has 6 files, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 files open. Emacs might have more, actually. That's not what I want. It seems that my low-level key hook is screwed up the alt key for everybody. So I have to find a different way to do that. So here's a question for everyone. In Win32 API, how do I prevent the alt key from dinging when I do key combos that involve alt? Because I tried to do it through handling messages, and I just couldn't figure out how that was possible, and it's not in the documentation. And it wasn't anywhere online that I could find. And then I tried low-level keyboard handling, and that is a nightmare. It works, but nothing else on my computer works now, so I'd kind of like to stop doing that. So there's a question. How do I make the key not ding? The alt key. Wait, nope. Yeah, even this is... My arrow keys are busted again. Yeah, so that's... This low-level keyboard thing is just no good. I want it out of my code. It seems to be terrible. That would be cheating. No, DPC47. When I'm using OpenGL, I'm not producing the pixel buffer. When I do software rendering, that produces a pixel buffer, and that's the thing I did some C-level optimizations for. But when I'm doing OpenGL, that's GPU, that's hardware accelerated. So I'm just using an API to tell the GPU to do the work, right? So Yeah, I don't do any pixel buffer stuff in OpenGL world. Thank you, DV Kern, who's also working on a text editor or code editor. I'm not sure which phrase you use. I try to always use code editor for mine. But anyway, thank you for this tip. He says I can use the register hotkey and then receive hotkey messages, and that fixes it. Okay, I'm going to fix that right now because this is basically, like, it becomes unusable after 5 to 10 minutes, it seems. It's happened twice on my stream, so maybe more like 30 minutes, but we're going to take a break from generating a tree, which we are not going to get very far on by the looks of it, and we're going to look through the wrong file until I switch to this one. We're going to low level keyboard. I want to kick you out. You're bad. You are a bad thing. Low level keyboard. We'll just comment you out for now. And then let's see how this works. So I want to look up register hotkey. All right, DV Kern, for those on YouTube who for some reason are watching this on YouTube, which is ridiculous. But anyways, since it will be on YouTube, I'm going to finish this conversation with DV Kern for you. He says he's calling his a text editor, so please, let's try to get the phraseology right. It doesn't matter. I'm just screwing around. Defines a system-wide hotkey. Sure. The identifier of the hotkey? That can't be right. That's not what they mean to say, is it? It says that the IDs and the identifier of the hotkey, if the H is then the hotkey is associated with the current thread rather than a particular window of a hotkey with the same H and ID parameters. Okay, so I just set that to 0 and ignore it, I'm assuming. And try not to use the same ID more than once. Some sort of method of referring to registered hotkeys, I think. That makes a lot more sense. The keys that must be pressed in combination with the key specified by the uvert key parameter in order to generate WM hotkey message. Okay. Oh man. So I hope I'm understanding this correctly, but looks simple enough, so let's try this. Emacs. Okay, so that should cause WM hotkey messages to be generated. So the W param, I'm assuming, is the ID, which is what dvcurrent has just explained as well. The message was generated by a system. Okay, so ignoring those. What? Why would you do these operations through a hotkey system? Oh well, I'm gonna ignore it. Okay, so those are, gotcha. Alright, so we're ignoring both of those, and I'm just taking case 0 for now. And I'm going to define it, actually, because that's the responsible thing to do. Job, thread proc, no. Here it is. Yep. Yeah, I'm wondering if this is actually what I want to do. I'm not sure that I see how this is going to fix the problem I was having. Yeah, let me sort of thinking what I'm thinking, because what I'm trying to do is just, let me show you what happens if I don't do the low-level keyboard and I don't do the hotkey. Because I don't want to talk to Win32 all the time to set all my hotkeys. I want to abstract that away and just get the input and then respond to the input without really caring about where it came from, right? I don't really want to have to constantly dispatch and alter combos to the operating system. That sounds like something I wouldn't do. So, there's that register hotkey. Because if I just do this, I'm just saying I want to find a way to get my alts without them causing dings. I think you can hear the dings on Twitch. So, here's the ding, right? I hit Alt-C, I get the ding, right? Even though it detects everything correctly, but for some reason there's like a default behavior that Windows is doing, and Alt-C causes a ding, is what that means. And everything, like every key combo that involves an Alt is dingy. Sorry if that was loud for everyone, but it's kind of been annoying me for a while. I can't figure out how to make it go away. So I was hoping that this hotkey thing was just a matter of I could use that to press Alt through a different method, but then the messages are still coming through. What I need is a way to say, you know, when you get Alt, because really what's happening, from what my investigation showed, is whenever I get these system things, that's when I'm going to get a ding. So what I can do is I can say something like, that. Whoops. Stop. Replay. Alt-C. Right, so there's a thing. Now let's do it again. And I have to actually look at output first, and I skipped that step. Alt-C. Where's my message? I should have generated a message. That's because it was still running. Gotcha. Let's see. Now just pressing Alt causes it to say gonna get a ding, because Alt also goes through that, but let's see, you get the ding. There you go. So we can even make it more specific. If W param equals C, right? This is totally not what I said this is not what I advertised on Twitter was going to happen, but see, there it is. So I got two of these because one for the sys down and one for the sys up. Okay, so with that established, that's what happens when you have things involving alt combos. It goes through this path. Now if I put a breakpoint here, so that it only breaks when I hit the C, you see I haven't heard a ding. The ding doesn't happen yet, which suggests to me there's something I could do now to prevent the ding, like altering the result, for example. Normally I return 1. Maybe this time I return, let's put this in non-hexadecimal, maybe this time I return -1. F5, still get a ding. Okay, so let's try it again. Alt C. -1 didn't work. Try 1 maybe. Still gets a ding. You always get the ding. So what you return on a result maybe doesn't matter. I don't know. But I wish I knew some way to just say I don't want my app to ever issue that sound. Because I don't. Alright, anyways, that was my little, I don't know how Win32 API works for the day. I'm going to just leave the ding in for now because it's still better than the low-level nightmare. So, the little keyboard nightmare. So, Clemeon, that's what you normally do is you return 0 and you don't call the default window proc, right? If you call this function, that means you're like, hey, I didn't handle this, you handle it, right? How else do you tell Windows that you saw the message? Normally you just return 0. Almost always you return 0, and that says I saw this message and I handled it. So I am returning 0, and that's not doing it. Okay. Trickster Joe, I'm going to get back to working. He asks what I'm programming. I'm going to get back to the tree thing. But this whole thing has been annoying me for the last couple of days, ever since I started using alt commands and realized they were going to ding at me every time I use them. Yep. And I might do is I might just register every key as a hotkey and ignore it if that prevents dinging. I might register every key combo that involves alt right off the bat. Because I don't want any of those to ding even when you mispress them. So if that's what it takes, you know. Then I just gotta hope it still goes through the normal path, because otherwise you have to do a whole scary thing. Okay, so let's look at this code. Tree gen. I'm trying to write code that generates the polygon for a tree, and it's gone because my program, the low-level keyboard screwed me up. So let's see. Yep, I've lost everything. Let's try it again. At the very least, that won't happen again. How many degrees? Jeez. I seem to recall the low-level keyboard being something that was on Witness Wednesdays at some point as a nightmare. I have to go read it again to see if maybe there was something in there. It was one of the early ones, I believe. Okay. Now I want to go down to Adam. That's right. Save. Now go down to Hadamard. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, I want. So this is polar to Cartesian. Theta degrees, length. Okay, okay. Now I'm kind of getting caught up. This is still all wrong, so let me do this real quick. I determined 9 was the minimum that I was going to deal with at some point earlier today. So just throwing that in there. DPC 47, that's what I put. It's it is in degrees. My sine f and cosine f, I wrote that they were in degrees. What do you mean they're in radians? Because I can't remember which one they are. Tracer Joe, I wrote this once earlier today, and it got deleted because my editor screwed it up. So I couldn't save because my key combos got locked out. So this is as much as I had written before. Actually, there's a little bit more. But to answer your question, I've been programming for 9 years-ish. I've been programming in C++ for about 5 years. 6 years. Okay, so 180 plus 45 more, 225. Delta theta equals 45 equals, I want a vertices 1. Zerican is asking about adding a warning for closing a file, and the thing is yeah, that should be in there. It's not in there. But the real problem was I was locked out of my key combos because I was trying to figure out how to handle the Win32 Alt key. Because if I can show you what it'll do right now. It makes the ding sound even though I'm handling it. And I was trying to figure out earlier today how to make that stop happening, and I said you know, that I was just going to let's see, I was going to try low-level keyboard handling, and that caused my entire keyboard to get locked out. I couldn't use arrow keys. I couldn't use Control S, which is how I save files. So. Didn't finish polar to Cartesian yet. But the idea is pretty simple. Put the theta in, put the step amount. Step amount should be half of what it was before. Theta plus equals d theta. 530 now. Darn. Okay. Let's see. I was hoping to be done at 6. So, alright, polar to Cartesian. We're going to make that work real quick. Cos of theta degrees times length. Result y equals sine theta degrees times length. Save this. Save this. Alright. Now, if I were to try to render that, it would be a disaster. Oh, you know, this polygon isn't even convex. And I bet the OpenGL polygon thing requires that it's convex, doesn't it? My fan just got a little bit louder. Yeah. Hey. The other alternative is that I could just get this no width version done, and that'll cheese the rendering of it, because I don't have the patience for finishing this. If I do not have the patience for finishing this if I try to convert to a set of convex polygons. So we're not going to do that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're not going to here we go. So this will be a little bit simplified. Wait. A series of lines. We have to know what each one connects to. I can make the balls. The question is, how do I make the connections between them? Because I'm thinking I can definitely draw. Well, one thing I do is GL lines. Line strip, is that an option? I don't think I want a line strip anyway. Lines. Just to get the algorithm working, and then figuring out how to render it's a different problem. Yeah, okay. I'll go with that. So what this is doing right now is it first makes that's one line right there. There to there. 2, 4, 6, 8 is enough to make a 3-branch tree. So then what I want to do is right here, vertices I, that's going to be times 2 plus, well actually what I want to do is I want to have a sort of I32 k equals 0, k plus, k plus equals previous, k plus. Okay. So that'll make a thing, and then the other thing I want to do is count out. This also wants a base position. 300. I think I already did this once before, but there it is. Now let's see if this is building. Not quite. So in the math, line 44. Real 3. Done. Cool. Alright, let's see what happens if we run it. Not what I was expecting. Okay, let's look at the tree again. So, it starts at the base, it moves up. Well, that's actually moving down. Theta plus equals d theta. So that should produce Kalimian, do you have a tip? Or was it just that I should handle this case? Because if you can tell me what to do from here, I'd gladly listen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's how I can detect if the alt is used. Okay, well, I have system key up in here. Is there anything else I have to do to handle it? So what I can do is I can say if lparam and bit, what was it, 29? Output debug string. Alt key combo. Already had it running, right? Alt M. Which reminds me, we just finished writing this up a little bit. Yeah, so I gotta figure out why the lines are not coming out the right angle. Yeah, I'm suspecting that there's more to the story than this, because I should be handling this. I mean, I'm returning. I mean, the annoying thing is, I even went through and looked at what the default function does. If I pass to the default function, it returns 0. So returning 0 doesn't tell it that you've handled it at all. Like, it seems like if there's any way to tell the system that you've handled that and that you don't want the ding, it must be very unusual. Because just returning 0 doesn't cut it. Alright, let's take a look. Yeah. So it did the ding before it got to this breakpoint now. And technically, I think both of them cause a ding. Syskey down and syskey up both cause dings. If you wait long enough, but after pushing the down and you wait and you push the release, it causes 2 different dings. So, but yeah, I mean, all the information about how to detect it is correct. It's just, the ding stays forever, is the problem. Actually, I hit break there, which was what I meant to do, but I am curious about something. So let's let's focus on that for one more second, because that's a real thing that I have an idea on how to fix. Alright, so here's my idea. If lparent and bit 29 output debug string ding, right? Okay. I'm going to build that, run it, Alt C, got the ding, then put it on breakpoint, brilliant. Alt. Oh, if I just press Alt, it's going to cause that breakpoint too. Okay. So just pressing Alt is enough to cause bit 29 to be on. But let's do Alt C. Okay, there's no ding right now. I'm going to put a breakpoint here. Okay. We're going to look at all of the messages that come through and see which one is the one that comes before a ding. So there's a 262, 274, 529, 32, 278, 288. Ah, 288. What's message 288? What is message 288? Where's the the Linux thing that knows the things? Here it is. Alright. What did I say? 288? Menu char. What is that? Menu char seems to be the one causing the ding most directly, so let's see what that's about. Okay, so I think if I handle this, because this, okay, there's one other thing that I've discovered, and I will show it now. Oh yes, that's just left alt, because left alt space does that, right? And so here's a question. If I do right alt space, okay, that's the same. Let's do right alt C. $262, $274, $529, $32, $278, $288, ding. Yeah, so I'm going to try handling that, because it seems on either side that I'm getting the ding because I did an alt with something, and these two here are the two things, the drop-down menu and this are the two things that can normally happen from alt. So maybe if I handle this, those things will stop happening, and the ding will stop happening. That is my hope. If not, we can also try syschar. Nah, I didn't do it. Okay. We're getting down to the bottom of this, people. We're going to figure out the incantation that they use to make things not ding. Hey, there it is. So there you have it. DB kern handle WM syschar, and it goes away. So that was fun, guys. Thank you for encouraging me along that little exploration. And alt space is gone too. Cool. Cool. That makes me happy. So let's look at... I'm going to say that I'm done for today, and if anyone's got any questions, I'll answer them, and then we'll call it good. Well, I have to get that tree at least... Since I went from a tree polygon to a tree stick figure, and I haven't even got that working, I have to at least get that working before I call it quits, I think. So, and then I'll use this learning pool for future testing. So maybe. All right. So why? Okay, there's something wrong with polar to Cartesian. That's my guess. So, and now I'm debugging without a debugger, which isn't really a part of the test. So I'm gonna do this with a debugger. Okay. Boot. All right. App color. No. Open up TreeGen. I want a breakpoint right there. Go. Boom. So let me take a look at the vertices we have so far. Okay, those look fine. So it's this third one here. Let's take a look at this. What is the result? Positive x, negative y. Okay, interesting. That should be negative x, negative y. But that is the same. Okay, then theta degrees is, yeah, so that's correct. Positive x, a different negative y. Huh. Huh. But that's not even the output we see, is it? More positive x, positive y stuff. That's all over the place. That should have been negative x, negative y the whole time. Are cosine and sine in the standard library, are they degrees or radians? That's the next thing I need to look at. A radian angle. What about cos f? That's the one I'm actually using. Where's cos f? Got a cos f in there. It's not listed, but one can assume. I would hope that they would be consistent, so. Oh, does WM_syscar have the same problem where you need to pass it on? If that's the case, then I'll just have it pass it on whenever the window isn't focused. So when the window loses focus, it'll start passing syscar, WM_syscar, syschar, or whatever, and it'll stop passing it on whenever it's active. Unless that'll screw up people who want it lit elsewhere in the chain. Maybe, oh man. Well, there's one thing I could do. The other debug. Oh yeah, we're gonna finish. Okay, so Clumion is confirming my belief that I can just. I was wondering if it was about the return or the function call itself, because if it's in the function call, you just have to not call, but if it's in the return, I could just pass it on and return something wrong, maybe. But I'm going to say it's probably just go with the thing where I'll pass it on if my window doesn't have focus. And we'll continue debugging this. So my problem was that my math cosines and sines need to be in radians. No. Math. There we go. Calculator time. Shift. Where's my pi button? Pi divided by 180. One 174. 532. 533. Yeah, so Clemion's still on about the passing on, the issue where you were supposed to pass on WM syschar, and it's possible that would still screw up Alt Tab when I think about it. Like, maybe that's in the realm of possibilities. So what I might do is say, check if it's an Alt Tab, pass it on. If it's an Alt Control Delete, pass it on, maybe. But I think that's supposed to be impossible to override, if I understand correctly. Not sure. Maybe I just made that up. I don't know. At some point I thought I learned that. Yeah, Alt Enter. You want to pass that on explicitly. Okay, so let's talk about building this again. Okay, it doesn't look any different. Where's the deal there? Right, save this. Oh, don't run it. Okay, so that looks better. Now it's just a question of why is it not rotating and producing all three of my points. It should be producing three different... Oh, it's only going for the first four because... Okay, duh. App color. So when I call MyGL polygon, that's the wrong name. That should be MyGL stick figure, MyGL lines. Yes. What we'll do here is we'll say which is the fun way of getting rid of doing modulo 2. That way we only, if there's an odd one, we always ignore the last one. And it just works. I mean, the better thing to do there would be to assert that vertex count is 0. That's the responsible way to do that, I think. Okay. Yeah, it's good for there to be one thing in the system that can't be overridden. I mean, in terms of non-maskable interrupt, that just seems, it's part of what you give up for having an operating system, right? You gain the ability to run multiple programs, and in exchange, the OS has to do a few things to make sure all of the separate programs play nice together. Whether it's hogging CPU or screwing with the keyboard, something's got to stay right. Alright, so the other trick is this for here should be vertex count. That's why we're not seeing the whole thing. Let's run this again. Uh-oh. Identify not found. You're right. I called it something else. Lines, I think. Hey, Alt Tab does work right now, so it's interesting. Alright, so that is a thing that is kind of like a tree. There's all sorts of stuff wrong with it. Like the position isn't where I thought it was going to be. Still not where I thought it was going to be. Thought I was correcting for that. Oh well. Is there anything else? Is there anything else I should do before we call this a day? Looks like 4coder holds up all right when you are when your operating system keyboard input is not trying to sink the ship. Any other ideas what I should do right now? I think I'm pretty much done, so I'm mostly looking for questions or tips on what I should do next for my tree generator. Next time, I'm only going to work on the tree generator when I'm testing 4coder, so the next time I'm testing 4coder, you'll see more tree gen if I stream it, which I probably will. Alright, I will, Kalimian, I will pick it up tomorrow for a bit. Thanks for coming, guys. It's always fun. Oh, before you guys go, before everyone leaves, let's have one other little bit of fun. We can figure out how we want to do this. You're right. It is gone. Research L systems. I'm sure that'll be useful. I ended up just choosing out of like 100 layers of complexity as I realized what I had actually signed up for, but I'm gonna make it happen. Chronal Dragon, that is exactly what's going. That is my next milestone on the parser. Once I got the Lexing coloring done, I was very happy to get to that point. But the next thing I'm gonna do is the preprocessor. Its main, like the defines for now. You'll be able to see them. Like you'll be able to hover over them and see how they look. The other thing I'm gonna do is when you have a block of code that is, if zeroed out, basically. It's code that's written, but it's not actually going out of the preprocessor is ignoring it. It doesn't get to the real parser. I'm going to set stuff up for that. Like, it's either, I like what Visual Studio does, which is just to lower the alpha on the text, so that'll be one option, and then a color as well, if you want to just color it and not play with alpha. So that's totally a thing I'm doing, because I love that. And if you don't like it, you can just do the alpha option at full opacity, and then it's as if it wasn't there. Okay, so let's play with this. So first of all, there's always the Sean Barrett style, which involves. I always imagine something like this if you're going to do it in 4coder. I for some reason decided to make the active border have a little color. I do the Sean Barrett one first because it totally remixes the entire look. Alright, a nice light active margin. Cursor, black. Text at the cursor, white. No, white. That was a little weird. It's the Sean Barrett style because it's been many years since I've seen anyone other than him use it. Alright, highlight we will keep. Let's get these. Let's get these. There we go. That's a little more reasonable. Now, if we are going to have junk tokens, right, then we want something like define junk. That's unreadable, right? I think you will agree with me. So our junk highlighter is going to go more like that. I can't read whatever Elephant wrote, but I'm going to assume that it is a play on Kalimian's comment, and I laughed at that. Okay, the other thing is my white space highlighter, which, you know, that is really only there because of how crazy OCD I get about my white space. So that's there for me. I would set it something like that. So there's one possible style. I think that's about as simple as it gets, really. You still have color for the find. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe that should be black as well. Although maybe he uses the I can't actually remember this. Maybe he uses like the dark blue style highlight with the white text. Oops, come on. When my cursor goes off screen, I have to send a message. I have to. Okay, so that's one thing. You know, the sort of paper, the pencil on paper. Look at that. It's so cool to me to see it scrolling around all smooth on a different color scheme. It's very neat. Okay. Next, let's play with another option. What do you want to see? What do you want to see it do? What do you want to see it do? Other than, you know, animating the rainbow and all that sort of stuff. Let's go with a sort of yellow. Oh, man, what's a yellowish green with... That's pretty tough on the eyes. There we go. Now what it doesn't do yet that I want it to do is the ability to copy and paste colors from one to the next. So I want to be able to say here, save this color, and then pop over to the next one and say boom, boom, boom. Just give all these guys the same color. But yes, basically I'm going for the CRT look right now. That's what I'm trying to do. Exactly right. Okay, a little more greenish. What I could do is just make the RGBs match, which is a lot easier. So 80, A7, and yeah, you can type into those, which is kind of cool, I think. 36, and you can also type into the non-hex ones. All right, so let's see, 80. A7, 36. Hey, yeah, as long as it's OpenGL, I don't see why you wouldn't just throw in user setting shaders for free. I mean, that basically just it's basically, at that point, you don't even have a customizable editor in the modern day if you can't customize your own write your own shaders, I think. Alright, let's see. So that's good, but the text at the cursor needs to go back to being black. And let's see. 80, A7, 36. Very good. 80, A7, 36. Now the question is, what do I want the junk to look like? Oh man, I better switch over to this one. I want it to be dark, reddish, no, greenish, yeah, sort of in that range, that same range. Let's see, is that about the right hue? A little more to the right. So there's another option. Alright, so that is the color picker. I have a few other cool little things. Now that I have that as a sort of UI example, I'm going to press down on it for a while and clean up the view system. But I have a couple. This is the small beans UI. When I have another UI thing that's coming in the future, I'm going to make a real demo presentation of this thing I have in my mind. So you guys got a nice peek at the small UI upgrade. Anyways, thanks for coming out, everyone. I'll probably stream again tomorrow to work on this tree a bit more and to keep testing out 4coder as it's getting very close to becoming my editor of choice. Yeah, thanks again. See you later. Bye.